A Short History of the United States by Edward Channing. Chapter 4, French Colonists, Missionaries, and Explorers. 26. The French in Acadia. For nearly 40 years after the destruction of the colony on the River of May, Frenchmen were too busy fighting one another at home to send any more colonists to America. At length, in 1604, a few Frenchmen settled on an island in the St. Croix River. But the place was so cold and windy that after a few months they crossed the Bay of Fundy and founded the town of Port Royal, the country they called Acadia. 27. Champlain and his work. The most famous of these colonists was Champlain. He sailed along the coast southward and westward as far as Plymouth. As he passed by the mouth of Boston Harbor, a mist hung low over the water, and he did not see the entrance. Had it been clear, he would have discovered Boston Harbor and Charles River, and the French colonists might have settled there. In 1608, Champlain built a trading post at Quebec and lived there many years as governor or chief trader. He soon joined the St. Lawrence Indians in their war parties and explored large portions of the interior. In 1609, he went with the Indians to a beautiful lake. Far away to the east were mountains covered with snow. To the south were other mountains, but with no snow on their tops. To the lake the explorer gave his own name, and we still call it in his honor, Lake Champlain. While there, he drove away with his firearms a body of Iroquois Indians. A few years later, he went with another war party to western New York and again attacked the Iroquois. 28. The French on the Great Lakes. Champlain was the first of many French discoverers. Some of these were missionaries who left home and friends to bring the blessings of Christianity to the red men of the western world. Others were fur traders, while still others were men who came to the wilderness in search of excitement. These French discoverers found Lake Superior and Lake Michigan. They even reached the headwaters of the Wisconsin River, a branch of the Mississippi. 29. The French Missionaries. The most active of the French missionaries were the Jesuits. The Jesuits built stations on the shores of the Great Lakes. They made long expeditions to unknown regions. Some of them were killed by those whom they tried to convert to Christianity. Others were robbed and left to starve. Others still were tortured and cruelly abused. But the prospect of starvation, torture, and death only made them more eager to carry on their great work. 30. The Iroquois. Strongest of all the Indian tribes were the nations that formed the League of the Iroquois. Ever since Champlain fired upon them, they hated the sight of a Frenchman. On the other hand, they looked upon the Dutch and the English as their friends. French missionaries tried to convert them to Christianity as they had converted the St. Lawrence Indians. But the Iroquois saw in this only another attempt at French conquest, so they hung red-hot stones about the missionaries' necks, or they burned them to death, or they cut them to pieces while yet living. For a century and a half, the Iroquois stood between the Dutch and the English settlers and their common enemies in Canada. Few events in American history, therefore, have had such great consequences as Champlain's unprovoked attacks upon the Iroquois.